everybody of us is volunteers. So especially my team, and also Tomasz and also people from Magda, people from PZU, they are volunteering doing this, and thanks a lot for this. All mentors, you'll get mentors. Your faculty advisors, I think maybe some are even in the room, are volunteering this. Mentors will give you mentors are volunteering this. Graders are volunteering this, and then panelists are volunteering this. So everybody is volunteer, which is nice, and still people like it. Of course, this is, your teams are between 3 and 5 people, so it's better to have maybe a little bit more, because if somebody resigns due to some personal reasons, then we still have to have in the team 3 persons, right? You will have a mentor, so we'll assign you, or maybe you have already mentor you have in your mind. So this mentor will be assigned. This is the member of CFA society, usually the person who is very advanced in this area, and this person will help you in some limited number, I think it's 6 hours at most, limited number of hours to help you with the real report. Please do not hesitate to ask mentor. We had sometimes such a situation that, students did ask mentor, oh, we thought that these questions would be stupid. We don't want to show that we don't know these things. No, mentor is for help. So please ask questions, and of course, given that limited amount of time also for mentor. The same is true for your faculty advisor, of course. More theoretical maybe issues, mentor is more practical, I think. And of course, you will be then graded. Grading, I think the deadline is sometime in February, beginning of February, but the graders will grade the reports blindly, which means that they don't know who wrote the report. You'll have letters, A, B, C, D, and you have to write the letter, that's it. And then, of course, the best teams, I don't know how many, 5, 6, something like this, advance to the to the local final at Warsaw Stock Exchange. And combined grade is 50% from your report by graders, and 50% from the presentation and Q&A during this session, this local final in Warsaw. And the local final will be graded by panelists. So there will be different people than graders. So graders will grade report, and panelists, they are, let's say, called investors. So they will come for roadshow, you present the company, and they will look for the presentation 10 minutes, and then there are Q&As, also 10 minutes. So this is very nice. Maybe you attended this already as a watcher, so that's fine. And as I said, there are 3 regions: EMEA, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. The most competitions, I think, are in this region now. And then Americas, of course, there are Americas, which means US and Canada and Latin America, plus Asia Pacific. Asia Pacific, they usually have less competitions because of number of societies, but they have very strong competitors, actually. So it used to be that out of these 13 global finals, I think 4 or 5 were won by not companies, but universities from Asia Pacific. 3 times Philippines, I think, and then there was Hong Kong, Singapore, one I think from China, and so that's basically what happened, right? So I hope that one team from here will advance to global final. For sure, one team will advance to regional final, because we have opportunity to send winner, and possibly sometimes we have opportunity to send also 2 winners, winner and runner-up, but that depends on the number of teams that deliver reports, basically. But we will see what will happen this year. At least one team will go for the regional final, and frankly speaking, there was usually situation in the regional final, which was held in, this year will be in Jordan, but this was sometimes in London, in Amsterdam, etc., that usually Polish team advanced to the strict final. When 5 best teams in the EMEA region participated in the evening, usually for the winning team. Recently, we were not so we didn't succeed to win, of course, these regional final. There are strong competitors from Norway and Switzerland, but well, let's hope that you can make it. Okay. Benefits, of course, you'll be trained in real world, actually, as equity analysts. Most of people who have CFA charters, they work still as an equity analyst and portfolio managers. Of course, the opportunities are much more diversified. You can be wealth manager, you can be consultant, you can be CFO, chief financial officer, etc. There's pretty much opportunities. I strongly, advise that you will get this, let's say, experience, and then you go for the CFA exam. This will natural, follow up of this research challenge. Of course, you have to put this on your CV. that you participated. Maybe you get to the final in Warsaw Stock Exchange, best 5 teams or 6 teams, depending on how much it will be this year. Mentoring, use your mentor really, because this is important person, and this person will definitely help you in this respect. Of course, networking is important already today, but networking in the local final, in Warsaw, and after, in February, at the end of February, and then those of you who will go for regional final to Jordan, meet people from London, from Germany, from other countries, from Ukraine, Russia, Balkans, etc., etc. Also from Middle East, very strong teams usually, Emirates, Qatar, Kuwait, etc., etc. So that's nice, and then it's good to make connections, to make physical connections, so intense, not necessarily only through social media, but also to speak to the people in real world, which will be probably more benefit than just going through social media. Okay, this is the numbers. How many? Usually it's more than 1,000 universities. This will be 1,100 universities. I remember it's growing actually. This was close to 1,000 when in 2013 when team from Poland won Global Challenge. Team from Warsaw University of Economics, they won Global Challenge, and in London there was Global Final, and there was about 850 or 900 universities. Now it's over 1,000, so it's becoming very fashionable also. 117 local challenges. I think in this region there will be probably in EMEA region, probably about between 35 and 40 local competitions. Probably. I don't know exactly yet at this moment. Many countries, many societies, many volunteers. You look how many people have to work as a volunteer, so that another many people can participate in this area. Okay, this is timeline. You have to finish your registration. I mean, you did probably, but the teams who can still register, at most 2 teams from university. That's the general rule. I'm sorry to say it, because I know that some universities there were more teams willing to participate, and there were probably local, let's say university competitions, internal, to select the best teams, or maybe your faculty advisor said, oh, this team is better than this, well, depending what happened. So you have to be ready by 12th of December with the registration, and then final report is due 4th of February. Let's make it 4 p.m. Sometimes we did it in midnight. It didn't work really because people had to sleep, and then they decided to deliver final version of the report 5 minutes before midnight. So I don't think it was a good idea. So let's make it 4 p.m. Okay, you'll get this information. Then there will be report grading. Each grader will report all reports. It will grade all reports, right? And then of course you get information something like 1 week before local final. Those teams who will participate. So I said 5, 6 teams, something like this, roughly. And then on the 25th of February, you will have this final in Warsaw Stock Exchange. And those teams who advanced, you still have 1 month to prepare, because the winning report from here goes to the graders in the EMEA region. So there will be graders from other countries grading our best report in this case, and they will deliver grades. And then there is a final in 1st of 2nd of April, when these teams also give the presentation Q&A session, right? And then of course there will be strict final in the evening of the 2nd of April. And then of course there are still 2 teams, still 2 weeks, 3 weeks even, to participate in the global final, so enough time to get your tickets. There was not even enough time for Polish teams to get visa in US, but now, as you know, according to what media said, you no longer need visa for these short-term trips, and I hope that these officers in immigration in the New York, well, probably you go to JFK, will let you in the United States, because you say you'll have also letter. The team who will win, go to global, will have probably letter from CFA Institute supporting that this is not somebody who wants to, to do something bad, but on contrary. Okay. Rules overview, 3-5 students, up to 2 teams, of course. You must be enrolled in the university. So even if it could be that you graduate, let's say, in December, but you still are entitled. So in the moment of registration, you have to be still student. But of course, you can graduate in the meantime, but you're still allowed to participate in these local final, regional final, and global final. Original work, no plagiarism. It's very easy to detect plagiarism, and graders will do it, of course. You should, contacts with the subject company. today, of course, and then you have one possibility of having sent email to the company with different questions. So I would recommend that you will not send tomorrow questions, because you lose this opportunity again, but you will gather different questions and then send in organized way the mail. We will facilitate this definitely as last year, sending mail to company, answering questions of particular teams. Not help of any professionals. You know, it has to be done through ethical rules of CFA Institute. So I would recommend that you go through ethical rules, of course, on the website, and you follow these rules. Not contacting the company, except for this one bulk mail sent with the questions. Mentors may not provide material non-public information. That's also ethical and also legal issue, right? Material non-public information. Anything that you get here and you get from the company after your questions will be publicly available. But probably it's better to get this from, you know, original source rather than from, I don't know, some websites or whatever, okay? Written reports, everything is on the website description, how written reports should look like, up to 10 pages, and there are strict rules. You have to put logo, etc., etc. So that would be probably, you should think about this when you are close to the delivering report. It has to be in English, of course. We had one situation when one team years ago two teams even deliver reports in Polish. I don't know how they think that, because everything is in English. Even I'm speaking English, maybe not the perfect language, but still is in English, right? So that's the situation. Yes, oral presentations. When you go to the local final, also there are some rules about local presentations, right? This is standard format. You will get this information in due time. Code of ethics and professional standards also on the website. When you go to this part of the website, which is about research challenge, there are different materials that are helpful. How to write report. Then very important for the teams who will come for the local final, also how to present yourself. Very often you get some consultation from people who are teaching public presentation to make it better. It's always nice to present, because maybe one single point will decide, because somebody maybe, you know, behave not in, you know, you have to show that you are really convinced what you are talking about. So not being like there's a question and then people start to look at each other. Who is going to answer this question? That doesn't look too well from the point of view of panelists that agree. Of course, you get a little bit less points, and that may decide, of course, with the combined scores. Very often this is very close call. The teams who are usually, the teams who are in the top 3, 4, 5, maybe sometimes even, the distance in terms of points, the difference is very, very limited. It could be, you had one situation once that out of the 1,000 points, because those 500 points plus 500 points from presentation, the difference between first and second was just 2 points out of 1,000 points. Can you imagine? So they were almost the same. Well, they were the same, basically. Maybe somebody, some grader put two points less in some cases. So that's basically, there are many of sample reports on the website. There are also presentations, you know, videos from the previous finals. Usually it's world final, global final, but also sometimes from regional finals. This is live streaming, right? So you can watch live even these global finals. It's very nice usually to see, well, how these students from different countries present this, etc., etc. Report scoring, 100 points from each grader, and you see different ways. Of course, everything is on the website, so please take care of everything here, but particularly those who have 20 points, so it's 20% of the total grade. There's the presentation, of course, sample. This is in the case if you go to local final. You have to think about presentation very carefully, so that's the reason that you have about 1 week to prepare this. And then presentation scoring. This is for panelists who will be in the Warsaw Stock Exchange, just grading, I should say, not reports but the presentation, especially Q&As. So you see here, for example, a question and answer, were they able to answer the questions effectively and with confidence also, right? So people are usually very well trained. And again, I would like to thanks a lot to our main partner. Usually we discuss the team each year. This year we are extremely happy that we get one of the largest companies in the country, not only in the country. The question is that I have to be, to my knowledge, that will be not easy way to write report. But that's, I'm telling this each year. So, so this time, for the first time, we have financial company, basically. Usually you have other companies like, you know, from production, or there was KGHM, there was, last year was PKN Orlen, actually this year, because the final was this year. We have CCC, we have Cyfrowy Polsat, we have Bogdanka, Netia, etc., etc. So very well-known teams, and we are extremely lucky that we have these teams in Poland, because I know that from some countries, which are maybe even close to Poland, but more in the east, they don't have the company in the market to be researched. So they are taking worldwide company and do research. So that's good that we have such nice market. And you know, everything on the website, I think, so you should go. You must register, you got special certificates, look at videos, at these things. I think I'm basically done here. So I wish you good luck, and there are some email addresses, not to me only, but also to, as I said, to Monica, to Jakub and Evelina. They will help you at any time. And I think it's my now great pleasure to ask our host, Paweł Surówka, CEO and Chairman of PZU. Again, thank you very much for the opportunity to have your company being researched. Thank you very much. Paweł is also the CFA chapter holder member of our society, by the way, as many people in PZU, I believe. And,
yes, we are.
And then I will give you a floor now, and then after Tomek will say a few words. I have to apologize that I have to leave, because there is economic Congress of Polish Economists in Sheraton, and actually this time there's even Prime Minister there. So I think
What am I doing here then?
And then I think that I still pretend to be Polish economist, so I think I should go there as well. Also, I share a panel there. So thank you very much again.
Great.
Thank you for the opportunity. I hope that we'll be in touch.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Tomasz, and then good luck. You have to use this.
Yes, I think so.
Streamline this, but you don't.
Okay.
Have the microphone, they hear you.
Okay, so I talked to the microphone, but thank you very much for the nice introduction. Welcome everybody. Welcome to PZU. I'm very happy that we are hosting this year's CFA event. As it was pointed out, I have a very special place in my heart for the CFA Institute. I have to say that there's a couple of things in my life that I'm proud of. Obviously, the current role being one of them, but I'm really proud of the things. One of the things that I'm most proud of is the fact that I achieved the CFA charter holder, and for me it was an incredible way to enter financial markets. I am actually somebody who entered financial markets from a different angle, because I studied human sciences, so I was not a financial analyst by degree. I've studied in Paris, and I was more into politics and into social science. And then after accepting a job offer from Merrill Lynch, I decided I want to embrace the financial track. And as I was already in my job, it was not really easy for me to engage in a full-fledged studies and kind of my work. So I decided that while pursuing my work, I will try to do it in sync and do the CFA charter. And having done that as somebody who has not had a financial training and had a very challenging job in the meantime, and finishing the CFA was something I really considered to be my great success, and I have been able to build on that ever since. So I can all encourage you to go for this charter. It is still something that a lot of people, if it is here in Poland or in the United States or in London, whether they are research analysts, whether they are traders, whether they are management board members, people care to put the three letters behind their name. That's something that is recognizable. There's a lot of B schools out there. There's a lot of debate going on about, is it important that you're a Harvard kid, that you're a Wharton kid, that you're a Stanford kid? And obviously all those names exist. But there's one CFA, and everybody knows what it stands for. I think doing it, if you have the passion, if you have the stamina to go all the way through for the 3 years, it's an investment in yourself. And from what I can see, it is a designation that has not lost its glitter. And I think it's particularly in a country like Poland, where obviously it is not obvious to get a title that is internationally recognized, whether it's in Asia, America, or anywhere in Europe. I think that this is a great opportunity. So I think, from my point of view, I can only encourage you to try this journey. It's a challenging one, definitely. You will get a lot of stress during the exams. You'll be yelled upon. People will treat you like you're in Guantanamo. But at the end of those 3 years, you will really look back and say, I have accomplished something. And I think that's worth something. So from my point, I just wanted to say that I'm not sure that you're really lucky that this year it's PZU who you have to analyze. I honestly, we take pride to be the biggest financial institution or financial group in Central Eastern Europe. We take less pride that I think we're also the group in Central Eastern Europe with the most complicated balance sheet. And to be honest, for the time being, I'm me and Tomek Kulik, our CFO, who is standing by to talk to you guys just after me, we meet a lot of investors, we meet a lot of professional research analysts, and they're looking for our numbers, they're asking us questions, and I don't think we have met one person who has actually gone through the point of really understanding our balance sheet. So I don't think it's I don't think that it is a matter of you of really cracking the nut and saying, okay, I got it. I think the question is, how far do you get? We are an uncommon beast because we are an insurance company who is consolidating banks. So that's not that common. Having said that, obviously, I think the important part will be to see how do you approach it, how do you apply your toolkit upon us. So we're very eager to see also how that pans out, and I'm sure Tomek will be more than happy to guide you through the process the way that he guides me through our numbers that I still struggle to understand, but we try to do our best to make them look good. So I think that without much ado, and all that is from my side is wishing you the best of luck. If you should have the folly of really going down this road, then all the best. You will have a lot of sleepless nights, and you will have a lot of debates with your close ones while you're closing yourself in the room and rehearsing a couple of books. But again, I think it's an investment that is worthwhile, and I think you're taking it at the right time, because the longer you wait, the more the close ones have good arguments why you should not sit in a room and struggle, but you should look after your kids or whatever. So I think this is probably the age where you can still try to do this investment. So I think that it is the right time, and again, best of luck. And if I could ask you to take over. Dziękuję bardzo.
Good morning. On behalf of Deloitte, I'd like to welcome you to this competition. Deloitte, I'm here very proud and very happy for a number of reasons. One reason is that we've been the supporter of CFA Research Channel for now, over 5 years. I'm really proud to see so many young people again in this room. I'm a CFA charter holder myself. I've passed in 2001, so long time ago. And I think in all 3 exams here, there were fewer people than we have today. So this certification has been more and more popular, not only in Poland but everywhere, as Paweł Surówka said. This certification will allow you to stand out when you be looking for a job in capital markets, in an institution like this, in an institution like ours. CFA do stand out, and this is the first step in the journey to become the CFO CFA charter holders. So I do encourage you to get involved in this, finish the report, and then participate in the presentation. This is a real school of equity analysts. Use, as Professor Yuga said, use your mentors. Don't be afraid to ask any questions. There are no stupid questions. This year it is difficult. It is probably the most difficult research for the last 5 or even ever in the CFA history here in Poland. But don't worry, if you crack this one, if you understand PZU, if you understand insurance, you understand banking in Poland, insurance in Poland and in neighboring countries, you understand the bond pricing, cycle in economics, a lot of things to connect. So when you do this, you go through it, it will be a real good school for you, and I do encourage you to finish it. And one piece of advice is to start early. Don't wait, because with this animal, you won't be able to do it overnight. You know, this is real work, really complicated, but you know, you learn this, you learn everything. So I wish you good luck, and now I pass the mic to Tomek Kulik, the CFO of PZU.
Good morning, everyone. Is it strange? Does it work? Does it work? Okay. Thank you for this opportunity to be here with you. Thank you all for participating in this meeting, both those of you who are with us in person and those who participate in internet through this online streaming. I was asked to walk you through not only the financial statement, because this is something that is published, you can read it, you can hopefully understand it, but to kind of build a bridge between what you can read from our financial statement and how we understand this pretty complex conglomerate, because we are not just an insurance company. We have 9 insurance companies operating in different markets, different segments. We have 2 banks that makes this even more complex. We have few asset managers. We have health business operating partly as an add-on to insurance business, partly as a fee-for-service model. So there's a lot of complexity, which makes the understanding of the financial statement even more challenging. Why? Because we still believe that our core competence and our main line of business is insurance, and that's why we provide you and to the external world our financial figures through the face of an insurance company. That's why it is pretty tricky to understand us. Nevertheless, for you, this is on one hand side a challenge, how all these different businesses are represented in a statement, but to do so, to do it well, you have to understand the composition of the group and how we manage each and every business line, in each and every market. So for me, this is more, the presentation is more about how we as PZU see ourselves, how we manage the business, which at the end of the day is presented to you in a form of financial statement. So starting from the very high level intro, we operate in 5 or 4 different segments. So P&C, which is the non-life business, covering motor insurance, home insurance, and so on and so forth. So everything that is not life insurance. The life insurance that is very unique in the Polish market, because I think that there is no other group or a company that provides something as unique as group and individually continued business. Plus, of course, individual life insurance, both investment and protection business. Healthcare and health protection, savings and or asset management, and banking. And this is the composition, and this is how we manage this organization. And what you can see on the slide is a very high level summary of all these products that we provide to private individuals, to corporate clients in very many different segments. Brief information about our position in Poland. So as you know, we operate mainly as PZU. This is our leading brand name, but also we provide our solutions under Link4 name. This is the company, the first real direct player, not any longer pure direct player, that was taken over by the end of 2015. Right now, we see it more as a distribution channel that, due to a very certain circumstances, is a separate legal entity. The same applies to not listed here mutual company that provides our solution to large corporate clients, so PZU TUF. We have within our scope 2 banks, number 2 and number 9, depending on which period and what is the measure by which we do the ranking. Both of them, I believe, they don't require much intro, so we know these two. Alio was taken over by the end of 2015. PKO SA, it's more recent history. 2017 was the time when PZU, together with PFR, took over from UniCredit a stake of nearly 33%. Then we provide also our services to third-party clients. We help them to manage and to grow their savings. This is TFI PZU and OFE PZU, of course. Plus, there is another TFI that is indirectly controlled by PZU, but is fully owned by PKO SA. I've mentioned about PZU Zdrowie. This is, first of all, the brand, but brand that we use both as a part of the insurance offer and partly as a offer within which we provide fee-for-service solutions to our clients, depending on what is their preferences regarding how this health package is provided, and whether it is an insurance policy or something else. We have also a strong presence in Baltic states, so Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, number 1, 2, and 4 respectively, plus pretty small comparing to the rest of the business operations in Ukraine, so number 4 and number 6. Some measures that you can by which you can feel what is the size of the group. So definitely number 1 in insurance in Poland, both in a life and a non-life business, measured by assets over 340 billion with the market capitalization of 33 billion. Over 22 million of customers, both cooperating directly with insurance companies or with other subsidiaries like banks, to whom we provide our offers through nearly 10,000 tied agents. So this is our key competitive advantage. There is no other provider that could have such a strong distribution. So a huge asset. In terms of profitability, definitely number 1 in a region, one of the biggest in Europe, and one of the few that may present such a high return on equity, over 22% for last year, with a very high solvency ratio. So this represents our balance sheet, how strong it is versus all the risk that we can recognize, name, and measure within the conglomerate. So just to give you a flavor, comparing to Polish regulatory expectations, if we consider paying a dividend, we have to maintain a solvency ratio of around 175 for life company, 150 for the non-life company, which is perceived high enough and safe enough to pay up to 100% of the profits in the form of the regular dividend. High rating. We are rated company, we are rated group by S&P, A- with the positive outlook. Our dominant shareholder, of course, is Polish state with 34% in our shareholding structure. How we change and how we think about ourselves versus the previous period before we announced the recent strategy 2017-2020. We, unlike before, when PZU was rather a blend of different companies cooperating, but being managed completely independently, we are right now a one ecosystem of companies that focus on needs of our customers. That's why we distribute the same kind of services through very many different companies, intuitively not aimed to distribute them, if you think about it. So just to give you an example, if you think about health business, we distribute it through each and every company you could think of, both life, non-life, PZU Health, Link4, and so on and so forth. So we try to change our approach to our customers so that we can provide them, regardless of what is the legal entity, the best blend of products at a very attractive price, products that they really need at each and every stage of their life journey. So both individual customers from birth to retirement, and of course corporate clients from startup to international corporation, large companies, and so on and so forth. This requires a lot of harmonization between these different legal entities and a very tight cooperation, which is sometimes visible through their product offer and distribution pattern. When the recent strategy was announced, it was end of 2016. Return on equity of PZU Group at that time was 15%, and by changing the model of how we cooperate within a group, being a blend of insurance, banking, investment, and health business, we wanted to lift it to this very high target that we set up for the company, and we stated that this is our aspirational goal, that this is something we believe in, and this is something we want to provide, taking into account a very unique characteristic of such a group. Because unlike previously, when a majority of our profits were related with insurance activities, right now we are not positioned on one segment, sector, market, currency only. We are more stable. We are positioned on 4 legs, 4 different business blocks, which are not very correlated. What it means that if we compare, for example, situation in the insurance market to the banking sector or health business, you'll see that insurance business, for example, motor business, you know precisely, it goes through a cycle. There is a up and down, driven by ability of providers to offer their products at a very certain price level. So after a very, very tough price competition, which in very many times results in a very, very deep losses, there is a relief within which each and every provider tries to optimize their price so that the capital lost in this fight for additional client, for additional percentage point of the market share, is regained through the higher price, and so on and so forth. So there is a cyclicality. There is no such a cyclicality in life business. There is a cyclicality in the banking business, but these 2 waves, if you look at them, banking and insurance, are not very much correlated, which position us uniquely to replicate and deliver sustainability in terms of our profits, which is very, very important for PZU. So together with few other KPIs, we stated that we want to be the best the most profitable company in a region, very safe in terms of our ability to serve our clients, even if there is a very severe and difficult time. We also want our shareholders to benefit from the fact that they believed in his strategy, they believed in the team, and they invested into company. So we promised that majority of our profits we will share with you. We will share with our shareholders in the form of the dividend, which makes this whole journey very, very attractive, and you will see it in a second. Of course, we also understand the green element and how the whole world and our environment is changing. So we also want to implement this standard that will make us a company that is responsible for its environment. Where we are in terms of delivery of this number. So as you will see our financial statement, our income, regardless what product factory it is, what product it is, it's still gross written premium. So the premium that we collect from our clients in a form of premium paid for insurance. If it's not an insurance, but it's still a revenue, it's not presented in a top line of this conglomerate, and this is very important to bear in mind. Nevertheless, what we show here is that despite of cyclicality in an environment, we have a very good ability to grow even in a dropping market. As you know, because this is something that we've been observing over the last nearly 2 years. Right now, the motor market in particular, but P&C market as such, is under huge pressure. So we've been observing dropping in rates. There is a pretty severe market competitions. Particular providers try to optimize their portfolio, try to optimize their income. So taking into account how difficult time and how difficult period it is, such an increase of nearly 3% is very, very good achievement. Operating profit, this is pretty tricky, because this is profit that is not attributable to the holding company. This is the sum of all profits of all businesses that we have a full control of. What it means that we have full control of, it doesn't mean that we have full rights or rights to the full profits and at the end of the day own funds of these companies. In very many cases, like it is in Alior, like it is in PZU SA, there is a quite significant share that we don't have a control of. What we have a control of gives us the power to run these two banks, for example, but it doesn't mean that there is no minority interest in the holding structure, and it doesn't mean that quite a significant part of this profit we have to share with other shareholders. In Alior, for example, this is as much as over 66%. In PZU SA, this is nearly 80%. You have to bear in mind that we control this entity through shareholders agreement signed with PFR, so together with our partners from the fund, we have a right to only 33% of the holding structure. Nevertheless, such a small stake allows us to make a full control over this entity. That's why there is a very significant gap between what is the sum of profits provided by these companies that are within a group, and what is the net profit that the parent company, the one that is listed, PZU SA, is entitled to. So the difference between two is the difference between 100% and 100% minus minority interest in a holding structure, which translates into ROE at the parent company level of over 21%. I would like to draw your attention to the fact how significantly we grew from this point in time where this strategy was written and announced for the first time. Structure of the business, still the leading part is the insurance, 75% of share in the structure, followed by the banking, 21%, and then our operations in both Baltic states and Ukraine. I mentioned the capital and the dividend policy. This is what it means in a longer run. So those of you who believed one day in PZU and it was IPO, and invested at that time in a group, until today they were able to gain over 100% return on investment versus efficiency of the main index, which within this same time was only 38%, only or as much as 38%, and index, there is main banking index, only 12%. Financial highlights. So we are slowly going down to details from high level helicopter point of view to our financial statement. This is the information for the last quarter, so this is the part of the official presentation and information that we provide and share with our investors. Once again, a very strong gross written premium, so income, despite of very difficult times and cycle in P&C business, very strong growth, especially in a non-motor business, over 20% year to year, very stable development and growth in a life business, group life business, plus very strong growth in the individual life business, something that we were historically not very strong at. Nevertheless, we invested quite a lot into products, into distribution. Right now we're able not only directly but indirectly generate an increase in premium over 30% year to year. Revenues from PZU Zdrowie over 30%, nearly 40%, Q3 to Q3 last year. And still very high level of investments. The recent transaction acquisition of Toma Diagnostyka Obrazowa will again, position us very well for the future and our appetite for growth in this particular segment. Strong cooperation with banks and very significant impact of the banking business, not only directly but indirectly from the cooperation, both bank assurance and assure banking. I'm afraid I just was informed that I have to pause here, so I really regret I'm not able to walk you through this. That is really fascinating for me. Nevertheless, I'm leaving you with a very competent person, so thank you very much once again. I hope this will be for all of you a great challenge, allowing you to understand something that sometimes we don't understand. So once again, thank you for this opportunity to be here with you and Magda.
So continuing, in terms of our achievements in 3Q 2019 and year to date, the net profit, as CFO mentioned, that we were able to generate was at 2.4 billion zlotys in the first 9 months of 2019, which is a flat result year on year, despite the fact that the market, as the CFO mentioned, was very challenging for us, with the motorcycle going down and basically very many legal burdens on our banking subsidiaries, which you will see in a chart in a little bit. Also, the isolated third quarter of 2019 was a stronger quarter. Was the strongest quarter this year, and we were able to generate over actually almost 900 million zlotys of the net profit. In terms of the combined ratio, which is the main measure we look at in terms of our non-life business, it was at a very, very low level of 90%. And here, low is good, meaning that the ratios of all the expenses in our non-life business to the revenues is obviously the lower the better. So we had 90% year to date and 90% in 3Q, which, as you will see probably analyzing different insurance company, is not such a popular result in Western Europe. If we look at our life business, we look at that a little different, because we look at that from the perspective of the operating margin, which actually is on our strategic level over 20%. We were able to generate 21% in the first 9 months of 2019. In terms of our investment portfolio, it had returned a very, very strong investment performance, yielding 2.3 percentage points over the risk-free rate. And this is above the targets that we set ourselves in our strategy. Our target is to achieve 2 percentage points above the risk-free rate, which really might not seem very impressive in terms of equity investors, but please bear in mind that as an insurance company, we are obliged to keep our investment structure tied to our technical liabilities, so it's dominated by fixed income investments, so mainly the sovereign bonds. In terms of our costs, looking at what's happening in the market, in the wage inflation, we are very proud of our cost ratio, which was only at the level of slightly over 6%. Again, this is better than what we assumed in the strategy. Our strategic level is 6.5%. So all in all, ROE of 24% in the isolated 3Q of 2019 and 21% year to date. In terms of our capital, a lot of that you already heard, so I'm not going to talk about it again. We received the affirmation of our S&P rating at A-, which is in line with the sovereign rating for Poland. We were able to pay the dividend of 2.8 zlotys per share, which implicates a dividend yield of 7%, which, as you will see, comparing us with other insurance companies and other financial companies in general, you will see that it is a very, very high yield, despite the fact that we are A-rated, an A- rated company, which is a nice combination, we think. The solvency ratio, which represents the safety of our capital, or our capital adequacy, if you will, is at a very, very high level of 222%. As you will see on that chart here without the names, we have one of the highest solvency capital adequacy ratios across the European companies. And analyzing us across different companies, please also remember that we use a very conservative standard model when calculating Solvency II ratio, as opposed to some of our competitors that use advanced models, which enable some modification in terms of the capital requirement. We have paid off our debt of 850 million euro during the 3Q of 2019, which means that our financing structure is even more equity weighted and even more resilient. And we also changed our philosophy in terms of the investment portfolio management from more mark-to-market valued to AFS basically, and through HTM valued. Which also, as CFO pointed out previously, it was one of the reasons why our results are very stable and very resilient, regardless of what happens in financial markets. In terms of what we have been doing to transform our business into more digital, we have introduced a lot of products and a lot of processes to our business, which every single one of them will have a long-term effect on our profitability and efficiency. One of them, which is very interesting for us, is artificial intelligence in claims handling. We use artificial intelligence to compare different pictures of cars which have been damaged in car crashes, and then we evaluate them from the perspective of whether the car needs to be fixed or whether the part has to be replaced. And we have cross-checked that through different workshops, and then that helps us to determine where we should not be overpaying for the claims handling. In terms of tariff setting 3.0, this is also a very important process which helps us to adjust the price to risk even more adequately than we have been doing that in the past. We have introduced Moje PZU PL. This is a platform where you can see all the products that you currently own of PZU and where you can buy more, and a lot of different initiatives that maybe we won't talk about it right now. If you will have questions, I can obviously address those in a little bit. This is a matrix which is showing where we are in terms of the realization of the strategy. As the CFO mentioned, our long-term target on the 2020 target is 22% ROE. We have been able to generate 21% in the first 9 months of 2019. And we look at our strategy in terms of 5 areas. And in terms of non-life insurance, we have set ourselves a number of targets. Under some circumstances, they are contradicting targets because one of them is the market share and the second one is combined ratio, which obviously in many cases of the businesses that you probably analyze, this is a trade-off. Market share versus the profitability. So in this equation, we usually choose profitability. So as you can see, the combined ratio is lower, that means better than our target, even though the market share is a little lower. So basically, we have sacrificed part of the market share, which we didn't really see as value accretive. In terms of admin expense ratio, like I said earlier, it's 6.5%, and that's exactly in line with the strategy. We also have some targets in terms of life insurance. This is measured by our size, so basically the number of clients. We have almost 11 million of clients, and our target is also 11 million, but one thing to bear in mind is that our portfolio on average is pretty, the average age of a person in our life portfolio is pretty high. So that's why and we also have a very high market share, especially in the group business, which is about 60%. So it is very difficult for us to further increase that number. Our insurance margin is over our strategic target. In terms of the life business, it is around 20%. In terms of investments, our assets under management, the target that we set ourselves is 65 billion zlotys. We had, together with PKO, TFI, we had over 50 billion at the end of the third quarter. However, here we have not been very active in acquisitions, even though that was one of our assumptions. But we always look at the price, and we always look at what kind of value we can create to our shareholders. So that's why, if we believe that the transactions which took place in Polish markets were not attractive to us, we just decided to skip them. Our yield on the insurance portfolio above the risk-free rate, like I said, over 200 basis points. In terms of health, this is a growing part of the business of PZU. The revenues exceeded 700 million zlotys, and our target for 2020 is 1 billion zlotys, which we think that we are on a very, very good track to deliver, as we have just recently acquired a chain of diagnostic centers named Toma. Our EBITDA margin here is 11%, our target 12%, so we are also not very far from our target. In terms of the banking, this is, as you can notice, this is one of the part of our business where actually we have under-delivered. Our target of assets of the banks, of consolidated assets, was 300 million. Now there's 280, so a little short of that. But if you look at the non-financial results attributed to the PZU group, so excluding the minority part, it was 580 million zlotys, even though that we set ourselves a target of over 900 million. Why that is? Main two reasons for that is, one, when we were writing the strategy, we were thinking, as most of the economists were thinking back then, that the interest rates will be higher. Interest rates, they have a different impact on the margins, of net interest margins of banks, but in our country, where there is a certain proportion of duration of assets to liabilities in terms of the banks, it has a positive impact. Higher interest rate has a positive impact on net interest margin of banks, including our banks, and that didn't happen. The interest rates have been flat all the time since 2016, and also there was an increased burden from the banking guarantee fund, which our banks have to pay this year. In particular, the resolution fee that Bank PKO and Alior Bank had to pay to the banking guarantee fund tripled. So that was one of the reasons why 2019 was not the best in terms of the net profit for our banks. In terms of the financial results, the way we look at them is we split our gross written premium to different business lines. You won't see that split in our financial statements. What you will see is a mass insurance and corporate insurance only. So that presentation includes some additional data for you because you can split out the TPL business, this is a third-party liabilities in motor, MOD, which is motor-owned damage, from the other products. And why it is important is because, like CFO mentioned, TPL especially goes in cycles. TPL in Poland, if you compare that market, the data obviously is also available in PU and KNF. In Poland, the TPL market is very saturated. If you look at the gross written premium divided by GDP or per capita, whatever means you look at, it seems that we have a lot of cars, and since this is obligatory to have a car insurance, we also insure them. So This is not a growing market. This is a very cyclical market. So that's why if you analyze us, I think it's worthwhile to strip out those business lines from each other. Also, if you look at the life insurance, our financial statements will provide you with a split between group business and individual insurance. This is also important to split out. Those are two different, I would say, subsegments, which also are characterized by different cycles. Not even cycles, but different features. Group business is very stable. It is practically flat for many years. And in terms of individual insurance, it is much more volatile. As you can see, in this quarter, we were able to achieve 30% growth in individual insurance. But this product, single investment products, meaning unit links, those are insurance products combined with investment element, is right now being under the regulator's scrutiny, as a lot of our competitors kind of actually overuse that structure to offer the products which were sometimes not in the best way adjusted to what the clients were needed. So basically this line is very volatile in general, and some analysts believe that it is likely to decline long term. We also split out the non-life insurance of Ukraine and Baltic states. I won't read out the numbers. This will be the materials that you will get, and hopefully they'll be helpful for you. The way we look at our consolidated results, because as the CFO mentioned, we consolidate the banks fully. Unlike some of our competitors like Sampo in Finland, who also has a stake in Nordea Bank, they only show a share of the profit based on equity investment. We consolidate the banks fully. So for those of you who are adjusted to the banking P&L, different parts of the banking P&L transpire in our consolidated statements. So this presentation will split out for you how the insurance result looks like, and the banks are here in one line. So some analysts find it useful to just see how the insurance business purely has been performing. And this quarter, like I said previously, we had generated 880 million zlotys in a net profit. Most of that coming from insurance, 700 million this quarter, and the banks have contributed 180 million zlotys. This is what I mentioned earlier. The shaded, the white area with the dots around it, is you can see what the burdens of the banking sector looked like. They paid 75 million last year to the BFG. They paid 164, with one of the components being the resolution fund growing even more. So without that, we would have a net profit which would actually be increasing year on year. This is also a table which you might find helpful if you decide to analyze us based on this type of granularity. That provides you with the gross written premium, how it's split by different segments and subsegments, and also you will see differences in profitability. And that is one of the results of what I was talking about earlier, that the motor business really goes in cycles. For example, if you look at the motor business, the combined ratio, which is the ratio of all the expenses to the revenues, is around 93. In some cases for corporate insurance, even 100%. If you look at MOD, which is the comprehensive car insurance, here the combined ratios are usually better. And if you look at the other products, which is usually property insurance, farmers insurance, SME insurance, is usually where the combined ratios are the best from our perspective. And this is also a market that doesn't really exhibit such a cyclicality and seasonality a little bit. So a table for you to crunch, if you will. One thing you might ask, what the conversion effect is. A few years ago, based on the law, PZU had to convert all the lifelong agreements with the corporate clients to annual agreements. That's why we have been releasing the provisions, which kind of, if you look at our 2014 results, you will see a huge effect of that in a few million of zlotys. That is actually phasing out, so right now we are just still reporting this, but this is something which doesn't really impact our results anymore. This is our investment portfolio. I think for right now it might be a little bit too detailed. It will probably be of help for you when you crunch the numbers, but that is also some split that analysts like, because it gives you an overview of the management accounting here. So we provide what we have earned on different asset classes, whereas if you look in our financial statements, you will see that combined with the banks. That's one. And two is, since we do not use the hedge accounting for most of our portfolios, you will see the effect of the underlying assets and the derivative separately. So sometimes it's difficult to combine. So from the perspective of equity analysts and investors that talk to us, it is good to see that, because they can see what we actually earned and they don't have to estimate it. Cost, I already mentioned. We are very proud to be cost effective, which also is partially an effect of our scale, and the solvency, which is the safety of our business. I think I'm out of time, but I will be here for questions. I imagine that's the next part that we will talk about. Yeah? So do we have any questions? Already explained everything. Yes.
Zdrowie has been cooperating with SenseDX.
With whom? I'm sorry?
SenseDX company.
Okay.
And introducing FluSenseDX to healthcare clinics.
I can barely hear you.
So, have I heard properly then that PZU Zdrowie is introducing FluSenseDX diagnostic device into clinics? That's the question.
Actually, maybe Damian, could you help me? Because I haven't heard.
I guess it was about TOMA diagnostic chain, right?
SenseDX.
Are you referring to the transaction that we announced lastly about the merger of diagnostic chain in Poland? No. I don't understand the question, so maybe first of all you can repeat your question. I get closer to you.
I was asking you that if I am properly, you cooperate with SenseDX, which is SenseDX company, which is run by Deloitte.
Maybe it's kind of startup company.
Yes.
Okay.
So well, I'm not sure about this specific company, but regarding the startups as they are, we are probably a unique company in Poland in a big sense cooperating with startups. So that is why we, for example, can easily introduce the AI things, the newest things coming from different areas of technology directly into our business. To name one example, we can assess the damage of the car in a real time, within just a few minutes. And at the same time, using the AI engine, we can propose, for example, the amount that we'd like to pay to our customer in order to get this car fixed, right? So, getting back to your question, yes, if you ask about the startups and our approach to them, we are very keen, because we know that the technology in insurance is a key. So you may find many different examples, even visiting the IR section of our website when we announce different initiatives in startups, right?
you.
You're welcome. Only one question. Give it. Come on, guys, it's your time. So.
I've seen that PZU is like it's like from more than 200 years into the insurance, and from 2015 it's into banking activities as well. Like it started acquiring the banking part, like 2015 in the initial, and as well as at the end of the 2015, like at the beginning of 2016. And we can see that the profits. When we see the trend of the net profit, I have seen that from 2016 the profit is like going in a good way. Can I assume that is it because of the investment into the banking sector, or because I can see in the presentation that it is doing well because of the premiums from the insurance, but I can't find much about the returns from the banking sector for the investment which is made by PZU.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the net profit, in 2017 also, well, actually, like you noticed, 2015 we acquired Alior Bank, but relatively it is a smaller bank, so it wasn't that visible in our statements. But if you look at 2017, we have been consolidated Bank Pekao, which already is a sizable investment, and it had a big effect. I don't have a number over here, but you can find it also in our statement, because we strip out the banking net profit from the consolidated insurance profit. But if you also look at the ROE, it has also increased. So it's not only that it added to the net profit, but also looking into this capital component, what our allocation is increased also the returns. But that's true. The Bank Pekao was in our statement since, I believe, 3Q of 2017 or end of June of 2017. So that has visibly enhanced also our earnings. If you look at that chart here, that also gives you some kind of a feeling of how much of that we have consolidated. I don't have a chart here for 2017, but obviously it would look smaller because the Bank Pekao was consolidated only for part of the year.
Okay, and I would like to know what is the core competency which differs and make PZU unique from other insurance companies?
In terms of insurance or in terms of the bank?
Both.
In terms of both, what I can say is pretty much to reiterate what the CFO was saying. We are, since banks are moving more in the cycles with the GDP because of the loan growth, because of the cost of risk and other qualities and quantities, they run in different cycles than insurance. Here we have a little bit of a different situation because motor prices have a lot of different inputs, but it's not necessarily the GDP growth like in terms of the banks. So the cycles don't really converge with each other. They don't really correlate with each other. So our unique, I would say, capacity to make returns is coming from that fact that actually we are diversified through different financial entities. And also in terms of our cooperation with the banks, we have been introducing increasingly insurance products into their networks, meaning our, for example, life insurance or property insurance has been sold increasingly through Bank Pekao's network. You can also see effects of that in our investor presentation, which is a little longer than that. So there's more details in terms of how many customers we have acquired through that cooperation. And on the other way, we also do the Assure banking, meaning that we sell the banking products through our insurance network. So this is one of the things that we gained from that acquisition. For example, just in 3Q, actually it was 4Q 2019, we introduced a cash platform, meaning that we offer our customers, which are corporate customers, an ability also to provide their employees with a quick cash loan. This is obviously being provided by Alior banks. We don't take the risk upon ourselves. They do provide the whole credit analysis and the capacity. What we do is we deliver to our corporate client additional value, which means that in a Polish hot job market, they have another benefit that they can offer to the employees. So basically there's a lot of interconnections between the business models. In terms of insurance, what we are unique is for sure our offer. This is the widest offer in the market. We also have the widest offer of the agents. That means that those are people who are kind of one-stop shop for our clients. And that makes PZU accessible also in smaller cities. So we are very present in Poland, which also kind of impacts our profitability. One, of the size, and two, because of the ratios. So these are the things that make us unique. Also, due to our scale, we also are able to introduce the innovative solutions on a higher scale, like the artificial intelligence I was talking about, like the website, and also like a digitalization of other processes that all of our competitors are just not big enough to do.
Okay. And what are the, like, I can see the insurance when we see that CEE, like for Latvia and Lithuania, I can see like only the insurance activities are their operations are going on. What about, is there any like future plans to bring the banking activities as well?
Those markets are a little different, and in terms of the Baltic markets, the banks already have a higher impact in terms of the distribution of insurance products.
Yes.
So it looks a little different. For now, we didn't really have plans in terms of any acquisitions of banks in Baltic markets. No.
Okay.
Not yet. We are more focused on the core business here and integrating the banks into our structure, into our risk management model. So not for right now.
Okay.
Not yet.
Thank you.
My question is, do you think that the 500 plus program affected the business of PZU? And if so, how do you think it affected it, or continues to affect the business of PZU?
I think it affects our business in at least two ways. First is obviously the cost effect, because if you look at what actually 500 plus did to the job market in Poland, some economists are mentioning it as one of the reasons why the job market has become a little bit more challenging in terms of getting actually people to work, and that actually is impacting our cost ratio. We don't really see that in admin costs that the ones I showed you about, but also if you look at the salary costs, they enter into our P&L in different lines. For example, in claims handling, because if you look at how those costs are combined, that's basically the materials and the people. This is basically who fixes those cars, right? So basically, in general, I'm not saying that those people that actually quit the job because they already got the 500, but in general, the effect for the whole economy is that the salaries went up, and we also see that in claims handling costs. So that's for sure. That's a short-term effect. What we think is going to happen in the longer run is that as salaries of people increase, they get much more inclined to actually buy insurance, which is not obligatory, and this is something you cannot still see in our statements, but we believe it's gonna feed into our profit as well. Why that is? Polish people are not very keen to buy insurance for a lot of reasons. I think the main predominant reason is because of their low salaries. Obviously, having insurance, like for example life insurance or home insurance, is not the first need that the person would think of. The first need is obviously to provide for himself, herself, or the family, and secure other needs. Insurance is not on the top. It is one of the further needs that people think of. But as the welfare grows, then obviously people will think about how they could secure the family in an event of something bad happens to them, right? So this is it's kind of like a luxury good type profile if you look at the elasticity and in terms of reaction to growing welfare. But it definitely is a lagging effect. If there are no further questions, I can just thank you once again for taking part in that. And I just want to add that I'm also a CFA charter holder. I'm really happy that there's so many people that want to analyze us, because for myself, that was also quite of a challenge to actually analyze it when I was a sell-side analyst. And I'm really glad that you are doing those reports. For education reasons for myself, but also I believe that many of them will be in the future our investors or our analysts. Well, I don't know, maybe you will join our IR department, for example. So the better understanding you have of that complex business, the better it is for us also. So I'm really excited about that process. If we can address any further questions. I believe that there is a structured process behind it, right? You are entitled to contact us in once you prepare the report. We will be happy to take them as well. Okay. Zakończyć?
Conclusion. Me as a conclusion. Okay, guys, thank you for your time, first of all. Second, it was a real pleasure to host you here today. And I guess that the limited number of questions was because of the complexity of you have seen today, but do not wonder. Do not worry. You are in group, first of all. And second, you are young professionals, so we believe in you, and therefore now we wish you good luck. And of course, we will be waiting for the questions that you may ask regarding the PZU group. Thank you very much.